What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. This is the 1 month review of the Puma Future Ultimate. It is a boot that I have really enjoyed training with and playing with, and I have a lot of thoughts to share with you guys. So without further ado, let's talk about the sole plate. Now, the sole plate of this boot is a little bit different from what we saw from the Puma Future Z 1.4 and 1.3, which this boot replaced. This sole plate is really nice. It's got a decent amount of snapback, good flexibility through the forefoot, and for me is pretty good overall. I'd say it's pretty average. My one gripe with it, and the reason it's going to lose points, is because of the stud length. Now, Puma basically says that this stud pattern is good for AG and FG, where their MG sole plate, for me at least, is more of an AG MG sole plate. That's poor advertising. These studs are really, really long, and they actually grip into artificial pitches like this stadium much more than I actually like as far as an AG boot goes. I want my AG boots to be able to pivot. I want them to be able to do lots of different types of movements, have tons of 360 mobility. When I plant, I want it to twist and turn, and these studs are just too long to be considered an AG sole plate. So for me, a little bit poor advertising on Puma's end. Overall, though, it is a good sole plate, so for that reason, it is going to get a 7 out of 10. Next, we move into the heel area. Now, the heel area is a really nice combination of an internal heel counter that goes all the way up to about midway over your heel bone, and then it's got this nice padding and suede liner on the inside, this orange piece here, which does a really nice job of making sure that your heel has no slippage, and at least for me, it did a much better job than the Puma Z 1.4 and something like a GT2 or something from the Nike series. Obviously, the GX has fixed that since then, but this heel is really nice. Keep in mind, this is also the low top variation. This model also comes in a high top that is about another probably inch, or I guess like 7 to 10 centimeters of extra space of knit material. It really makes no difference. The heel construction is the same on both boots, but I went for the low top because that's just what I prefer. But the low top model does a really nice job of gripping your heel, making sure you stay kind of snug in there, and it does a really fantastic job. I had no issues with blisters or anything during the break-in period of time. It's just not the most comfortable straight out of the box. And I mean that it's going to get a high rating, but it's just not my favorite. I prefer something else. So for that reason, it's going to get an 8 out of 10. Next, we're going to talk about this upper, which is unbelievably soft. I absolutely love this upper. I think they did a wonderful job switching from the 1.4 to this with a completely textile-based knit material throughout the entire upper. Instead of having that fusion fit band, they've moved power tape from the Ultra Ultimate to the sides and for a little bit of lateral stability and lockdown when you tie the laces tight. And then you've got that knit material here in this lacing system area. And for me, this is a really good upper. It's one of my favorites on the market if you're looking for a knit feeling football boot that also does a really nice job of locking you in, but giving you plenty amount of space to kind of break in and have good width as well. So this is something that I've really enjoyed. We'll talk about break-in in a little bit, but this did have really nice break-in period of time. Even though the boots run a half or a quarter size long, I went with an 8.5 for this upper, and this upper broke in really well. It was a little tight right out of the box, but then it got really super soft. And for me, that's really hard to beat for a knit boot, especially with the power tape on the side. Gives it actually quite a bit of lockdown, which for me was super impressive. So this upper gets an 8.5 out of 10. Now moving to lockdown, which I alluded to a little bit when I spoke about the upper and this power tape. The power tape, yes, although it's not the best lockdown technology in the world, I'll put it that way, it does do a decent job of keeping some structure to the upper, especially when you pull those laces tight, and it does give you a little bit of extra stability through that midfoot and through the medial side, the lateral and medial side of that midfoot area. So it's not just the power tape, but this upper does do a nice job of not overstretching. I found that it did a great job of locking my foot in. Not the top lockdown, not something like a Vapor or even a Speed Portal, but overall it did do a really nice job. So for me, this is an 8.5 out of 10 for lockdown. Now, break-in time is also really great on the Puma Future Ultimates. It was one thing that I really enjoyed about these boots. I went half a size down from my normal 9 US, which you guys heard in the, sorry about the wind, holy moly, which you guys probably heard in the review video that I ended up doing. I went half a size down for the 1 month review because I don't like space on the tip of my boots. Now, for the break-in period of time, I was a little bit nervous about these boots straight out of the box just because they were a little bit tight, but this 8.5 has broken in perfectly. I had no issues. It took me about I'd say 3 to 4 hours to be able to then comfortably slip into them and play full sessions in. So for me, this is an upper that I think will accommodate most foot types, especially for me who has a really wide midfoot here through this midfoot area on the lateral side, especially down here, and a pretty decently wide toe area as well. So for me, all those combined, 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours of break-in time, and that's for somebody who this boot was super snug right when I first got it. That's pretty impressive. So for me, this is an 8.5 out of 10 for break-in time. Durability and build quality of this boot. Now, I know a lot of people in the unboxing and initial test of this boot were kind of commenting in that video and saying, oh, I've tried these, they're not very high quality, the upper just feels really cheap, blah, blah, blah. I guess you could say that. I don't find it to be cheap feeling. I think it's just the way the material's built. I think this textile-based knit material with these little texture pods and little texturing on both the lateral and medial side of the toe box, yes, it might feel a little bit cheap straight out of the box, but once you get your foot in and you start to break it in, it really does do a nice job. And so for me, durability and build quality hasn't really been any issues. There's a couple places where the boots have started to separate a little bit from the sole plate. I believe on the left one, especially right where I hit the boot mostly for crossing and stuff. But that's kind of to be expected for especially a boot like this, which is meant for FG pitches, mostly on AG, because this is the majority of the time I'm playing on AG pitches. So for me, that's not really that big of a deal, but I am gonna knock it down a little bit just because some of the separation shouldn't really happen straight out of the gate in the first month or so. But it's not that big of a deal. I know I'm nitpicking here, but for me, the durability of this has been an 8 out of 10. Very good, just not quite that top mark yet. All right, shape and fit of this boot. So I am gonna base my judgment of shape and fit off of the size that fits me best, and that is the 8.5. If I were to base it off the 9 US, which fits long, it would not be a very good rating because I don't like how those fit and those kind of are awkward. Once I've broken this in, the fit and the shape of this boot is perfect for my fit. It really is. Behind maybe Copa Pure, this one, the Phantom GX, those are all boots that fit the shape of my foot once they're broken in almost perfectly. Hypervenom Phantom 3, those boots, they're so good. This is up there, honestly. And the shape of this boot, for whatever reason, just fits my foot really well once it's broken in. I enjoy wearing these a lot, and they feel great on pitch. So for me, this gets a 9 out of 10 for shape and fit. Okay, now let's talk about competition for this boot. So again, we're talking about kind of textile-based or knit-based boots that are in this category of sort of control and shooting and that sort of vibe. Tekela V4 is in that. Predator Accuracy 0.1 is definitely in there. And then I'd say GX, Phantom GX is definitely in that. And for me, these are probably, at least right now, it's hard to say with the Predator Accuracy because I haven't quite gotten enough time in those yet. But for me, for snug fit, what I'm looking for in a boot, these come second to the Phantom GX in that list. So for me right now, it'd be GX, then this boot, Puma Future Ultimate, then it would be Predator, then it would be Tekela. The only reason Tekela is not higher than the Predator, at least right now, is because the Tekela doesn't come with laces, and that's one thing that I really like in my boots. I'm not gonna play in a game or a training session with laceless boots. So that's just something that I, other than obviously testing boots for you guys and for the channel and stuff, but in a pro session, I'm gonna go with a laced boot every day of the week, and that's just a personal preference. So for me, this is second in that list, which is actually really good compared to what else is on that list. There's some really good boots, and I actually fit in all 4 of those boots, which is fantastic. So great rating, good stuff from the Puma brand. I really think this is a great addition to that marketplace of knit kind of control type boots. Performance of the Puma Future Ultimate has been really good. As I said, the only really, not even big gripe, but the only gripe I have with it is that it doesn't do perfectly on AG pitches. I'd say I'd really like a little shorter studs. Even if they kept the same type of diamond studs and little chevron studs, I think it would actually be perfectly fine for AG pitches. They just need to shave off a little bit of length on these because they dig into the ground like crazy, and they are pretty aggressive for AG pitches, which is why, for the most part, I actually wear AG boots on AG pitches now, at least for competitions, right? For games or for pro training sessions. But other than that, this boot has been a joy to wear. It is so much fun. It's so well-rounded, and it just does everything really well. It's not special at anything, at least other than comfort. At least for me, this is a super comfortable boot straight out of the box, one of the best on the market in my opinion for most people. But overall, this boot just does everything really, really well, other than that sole plate, or other than that stud pattern thing. So for me, overall, performance of this boot, especially in high intensity type drills, passing, shooting, all that stuff, I think it performed great. The performance of this boot gets an 8.5 out of 10. All right, overall rating for the Puma Future Ultimate. This boot has been an absolute joy to wear. I have loved wearing it. I cannot wait for future colorways to come out that I might cop at some point. I heard a little rumor that they're gonna go back to the one pink, one yellow, kind of homage to back when they had the Puma Evo Power 1.2. They're gonna do that with the Puma Future Ultimate. I've seen some leaked photos and they look so cool. So I might do that just for some fun training boots, and just for some things to knock around in. But honestly, if you are somebody with wider foot, you have kind of an awkward shaped foot, these are gonna accommodate most people, and that's because the entire upper is made out of the same material. So it's really gonna mold that knit-based, or that mesh-based upper is really gonna mold and do well with most foot types. And for me, this is gonna get pretty top marks just because it is so comfortable, and it's got the option of getting a low collar, low collar, or a high collar. So for those of you who want a high cut boot, by all means, get a high cut boot. I'm somebody who likes the lower top for the most part. The GX high tops, the DFs, are actually really super comfortable and perform really well. That 1 month review will be coming soon as well. But this low top is super, super nice. I love how these fit and feel, and I will definitely be continuing to bust these out for training sessions and potentially games this year. So we'll see how we go there. The overall rating of this boot is an 8.5 out of 10. I have really enjoyed wearing this. If you guys are interested in more 1 month reviews, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Definitely let me know down in the comments what you guys would like to see next for the 1 month reviews, or just regular reviews, or more content. Always open to suggestions down in the comment section below. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video.